Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Happy sunny day. It's been beautiful weather for the last 2 days, and our goal is to make sure that you can have as much sunshine in your life as possible. My name is Montreal Cain. I'm one of the chairs for the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force, and I would be without remiss if we didn't honor our matriarch who's joining us today. You guys give a round of applause for Miss Barbara Becker. If you are ever so privileged and fortunate to get to a place where you've served for so long and you get a chance to retire, every now and then you get to come back and see what your legacy has built. So it's really an honor to be here and know that she's in our space today. Thank you for everything that you've done, and good to see you. You look amazing and refreshed and relaxed. This beautiful afternoon, we're going to start off with a panel discussion with the new executive board of the Mental Health Board of Milwaukee County. Shortly after that, we're going to have a presentation from Mr. Ginlack, the Chief Executive Officer of Serenity Inns. And this part I'm really excited about. We have trivia. Yeah, that means you'll get a chance to learn some history, get a little bit of interaction, and just know not only where we are today, but where we've come from as the task force. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it to our chair, Ms. Mary Newbauer.
Be good, Mary. Let's start off.
Welcome, everybody, to the March 12th meeting of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force. I'd like to welcome you on behalf of myself. Christine Apple, one of our other chairs, is not here today. She's out of town. And Nicole Damiano is running tech in the back. And Nicole is one of our other chairs. So we normally go through the guidance of the topic of the rules and regulations of doing our virtual meeting. And I don't have these in front of me today because Christine usually does those, as to when to put your hand up and when to do all of those things. So I believe they are on the website and the information is posted there. We do have our interpreters here today, so please pay attention to the interpreters. And if the hands are raised, we will make sure we get any information. If you have questions and answers, when you have questions, we'll do the chat. So put your questions in the chat. So what we will do now is turn it over to actually Montreal was supposed to do introductions for number 2. Hi, Montreal.
As you guys can see, we are a working steering committee. We move around from place to place. What's really great is we have individuals that serve in so many different capacities. We're going to start off with Miss Mary Newbauer. She is the chair of the Mental Health Board and the first chair of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force Steering Committee. Outside of that, and I know this isn't on the paper, but can we talk a little bit about what it means to be a deaf doula? Yes, no, maybe so. Could you tell us?
Sure. One of the other things that I've transitioned to over the years and haven't shared is I'm kind of transitioning out of some of the mental health works that I'm doing now that I've collecting a pension. And I've transitioned into being an end-of-life doula. And an end-of-life doula is somebody that works with people around end-of-life issues. And it can be working with someone themselves that is going through the process of dying or has died, or working with a family member and a loved one. But my goal is to work with people that are living with mental illness, that have a trauma background and have a loved one or a family member that is going through the death process, and working with that loved one in real time to work with them so that they can deal with their issues as they are occurring, their grief as it is occurring, their loss as it is occurring, so they don't build up and create potentially additional trauma to have baggage to take with them into the next phase of their recovery and to deal with it in real time. And I'm also going to be doing a particular certificate just as a frosting on the cake to work with compassionate animal and doing grief work around people with loss of pets. And I've lost many a pet in my own life, and I've been an animal lover my whole life. So, and in doula work, there's a magnitude of different things that I do. I've assisted with taking people off life support. And I actually took my first death and dying class when I was 19 years old.
Thank you so much. If there was an NBA of people, I believe Mary would be our all-star. Can you guys give her a round of applause? Ms. Kathleen Eiler is the vice chair of the Mental Health Board and the former administrator of BHD, now known as BHS, Behavioral Health Services. And she's also a registered nurse. This is off script. Ms. Kathleen, can you tell us, what is one of your guilty pleasures? What's something that you absolutely love to do that no one knows about?
Oh. Well, I'm a big baseball fan.
Okay.
So it's funny because I have a birthday coming up and my husband said, well, we could take everybody to some nice restaurant for dinner. And I said, oh, that's a terrible idea. And then my daughter said, we could rent a suite at the Brewers and take 20 people to a baseball game. I said, that's my idea of a party. So,
Absolutely amazing. And it's brewer season. Yes. My guilty pleasure, I know you guys didn't ask, is snorkel. I like to snorkel. Open bodies of water. I can't wait for it to get just a little bit warmer. It's mindfulness, and literally every breath is a deep breath. So if you know anything about breath work, get you a snorkel and meet me in Fox Bay River. Also joining us virtually is Miss Shirley Drake. Not today.
She's not able to, her conference is running over.
All right. We'll be right back after these messages. So I'm going to pass it over to these beautiful ladies who have been serving to not only tell us what they're doing now, but what the future looks like for the Milwaukee Mental Health Board. Thank you. Go for it.
Well, hello, everyone. This is the first time that the executive committee has had, from the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board, has had an opportunity to share with the Mental Health Task Force who we are and what we do and what we're about. And it's rather unique because Kathy and I met many, many, many years ago at the Milwaukee County Behavioral Health Division. And Kathy has been a mentor of mine for a number of years. And so
we were six.
we were six. So, yes, we were six. And so it's unique, and I think it's really amazing that we met again, and here we are side by side doing the work that we're doing. And so we had the opportunity, as the elections came around, for the position of chair and vice chair to be elected and fill this role right now for the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board. And what I wanted to share is that the position that I fill is as a member of the chair of the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force. So I'm in an ex officio position, and we'll share a little bit more of that later. So I've been a member of the Mental Health Task Force since early on, not right since its very beginning, but close to its beginning. And I'm a person that lives with a mental illness and has my entire life. I'm a person that was told that I might be able to get a college education, but I would never have any transferable skills into a workplace. So that's obviously not the case. I've gone on to get a master's in social work with tremendous support of Kathy Eilers and Rachel Foreman from formerly of the Grand Avenue Club and other people in this room. And other have continued academically in other forms and ways and places, and then had an opportunity to join the mental health board 10 years ago. And so that's a little bit that how and why I'm on the mental health board. And now I'll let Kathy introduce herself as to the mental health board.
Thanks, Mary. I moved to Milwaukee back in 1980, and I went to work for Milwaukee County in 1983. I'll never forget when I got interviewed for the job by the director of the Department of Health and Human Services. He said, well, this would be your third job in 3 years. You seem like somebody who moves a lot. I said, well, that wasn't usually true, but it had been in Milwaukee. So I continued to work there for 20 years, just to prove a point. I left my job as the administrator of the behavioral health division, as it was then, in 2003, and went to a continuing care retirement community as the CEO. And I think the job had become an operations job, not a vision job. And that wasn't me. And part of that was political. And so we'll talk about the change in the system and how the county board got replaced as the oversight body for behavioral health. And so after I'd been gone, Chris Abley called me and asked me if I'd come back and do the job again, because he and I shared a vision of where this system needed to go. And the interesting thing about that was, of course, the county board was not pleased with the transition to a non-elected oversight board. And so I worked for probably close to a year before there was a confirmation hearing. And when a confirmation hearing came up, they refused to confirm me. And I think that I took it a little personally because it meant I was fired. But I think it was that they were so angry at him for having created this separate legislation that I was just a pawn in that political battle. In true Chris Abley fashion, I had to wait 3 months, but then he hired me back as a consultant because they couldn't control that. So I went back as this mental health board got started and served as a liaison from the staff to the mental health board. And then that went on for a year or so, and then I got out of that. And then there was an opening on the board for a nurse. And the first thing Sally sent out said I was a licensed psychologist, and that's not true. But it struck me as interesting because when I decided to go to graduate school, I applied to a PhD program in psychology, and I got accepted, and it was all swell until they said to me, you realize you'll be a psychologist who happens to have been a nurse. You won't be a nurse who's a psychologist. And something about that rankled with me. And so I went at the University of Cincinnati to the College of Nursing and Health, where they were delighted I was a nurse. So that's how I came to not be a licensed psychologist. So I've served 1 full term on the mental health board. This is my 2nd term. I only agreed to be the vice chair because Mary agreed to be the chair. I, I think the mental health board, and we'll talk about this, does great work, but we need new, younger people to do this. I am committed to the cause, but I feel like it's time for me to ride off into the sunset and let a young nurse take my place. So
Thank you, Kathy. So, has Kate been pinned up on the screen, Kate Flynn post, so she can flip our PowerPoint for us, please? Okay, so basically,
Mary, I'm
hello,
here.
Kate.
Hi, I'm here. I
on mute.
I just have a black screen, however. I think there was a problem with the camera.
Sitting room A, she's not.
We're giving you permission to share now. Just
You
bear
are,
with me a short moment.
okay.
To pin Montreal. And
So can I share? So the person we're speaking to is Kate Flynn Post, who is the research analyst for the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board. And we had to struggle to get a research analyst for a number of years. Because when I proposed that we got a research analyst, it was viewed by some former board members that it was because myself and others didn't trust the information that we were getting from Milwaukee County versus a research analyst would be someone that could be of assistance in researching information and data. So we are fortunate to have Kate, who is a phenomenal person. Okay, Kate, could you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so basically, you can see previously the County Board of Supervisors had a responsibility over everything that came out of the Behavioral Health Division, I'll reference it to, previous to the Mental Health Board. And very often, some of the people that are still on the steering committee and part of the task force know that when items went to the County Board of Supervisors, which ultimately went to Health and Human Needs, it was very difficult to get items passed because the people on that committee didn't have expertise in mental health and substance use. And as a result, items would either get delayed or denied. And as a result, things would not get approved. So then in 2013, the county executive and other state leaders called for a reform and for the development of the mental health board. And there was a legislative task force that was formed, and an administrative bylaw was passed. And then with the leadership of State Representative Sandy Pash and Joe Sanfilippo, Act 203 was passed, and eventually it became law. And that created the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board. And then in 2014, I had to put my reading glasses on here. In 2014, the original board was created. And so now we've got the creation of the original Milwaukee. We have now in 2014, the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board. And that mental health board oversees everything. Next slide, please. Oversees everything to do with mental health policy. So we set policy regarding BHS programs and services. We're responsible for effective fiscal stewardship of the budget, review of quality services, and making sure that the counties has a diverse population and our services are diverse, and that we maintain community-based, person-centered, and trauma-informed care services. And we have a 13-person board. And out of the 13-person board, 2 of our members, one represents the UW-Madison School of Medicine, and one represents the Milwaukee School, the Medical College of Wisconsin. And those 2 positions are non-voting positions. So Kathy, you want to take the next slide and go on?
Sure. So what you see on this slide are the positions that are specified in the law to be part of this board. I think that there's 2 positions that are ex officio. Mary's position as a chair of the task force and the chair of the Combined Community Services Board. Those 2 positions are voting members, but they are ex officio, which simply means they are held by virtue of another position. So the psychiatrist, psychologist, adult and child, the person with consumer experience, the advanced practice nurse, me, somebody with finance and administration expertise, a substance abuse provider, which when Ken's coming, Ken represents a substance abuse provider on the board, an attorney, a mental health community-based service provider, which Rachel Foreman serves as, consumer and a family member, and the 2 positions at the schools of medicine that Mary talked about. So it's a pretty diverse group of people. There's been some turnover in these positions over the last 10 years. As you might guess. People can serve 2 4-year terms. Pete Carlson was one of the first chairs, and what he said was this was a job for a person who didn't have a job. And I think there is some truth to that. There's when the packet for the meeting comes, it's like this, it comes in a box. So there's a fair amount of work to be done, and we're grateful to the people who have been willing to do that. Kate, this slide just tells you who were the first people on the board. And if John Lehrman is still around and Mary's still around, and Maria Perez will just complete her term in May, but other than that, there's a total turnover. The next slide tells you who the current people are, so you know. And yes, we need another person from Madison. That's a really tough position to keep full. People from Madison get busy and they don't come to meetings, and then they say, I shouldn't do this if I can't be a participant, and they quit. The problem, you could say, well, maybe it'd make sense to have 2 people from the medical college. I mean, you could have somebody from psychiatry and somebody from from public health, for instance. But that would require changing the legislation. And that's a nut that we haven't had the political will to crack yet.
We have 4 standing committees. We have the executive committee, and the executive committee consists of the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the chair of the governance committee. And then we have the finance committee, the governance committee, the quality committee, and we have 1 ad hoc committee, and that's our community engagement committee. And currently, we have an opening for the chair of the finance committee. I have somebody in mind for that needs to be contacted. Ken Ginlack is the chair of the governance committee. Shirley Drake is the chair of the quality committee. And Denise Leverance is the chair of the community engagement committee. And then as far as the BHD administrator, Mike Lappin, who has presented many a time here at the task force meeting, serves the role and has shared oversight between the director of the Health and Human Services Director and the Mental Health Board. And he provides regular reports with the team between the Mental Health Board and the committee. And then our staff is, as I stated, is Kate Flynn Post, our research analyst, who is an independent research and analyst support. And Kate serves the Mental Health Board. And then we have other BHD staff and administrative support. And Jennifer Miles is currently the interim board liaison. And
Sure. So one of the things we're interested in as a board is what people in this community want to see in terms of services, both from a family, a public, or a consumer perspective. And so we have you're welcome to come to the mental health board meetings. We've gone back to meeting in person. The committees meet virtually, so that's also possible, and those meeting links are available. We have public comment hearings. There's one next week at 4:30 at Washington Park Senior Center. And I want to say, I had an experience at a public hearing last year where family members talked about the difficulty of navigating the system. And the thing that struck me was that conversation was no different than a conversation I heard 30 years ago. And I found that distressing, to say the least, because I think there's a lot of things in this system that are significantly better, but I found that kind of horrifying. So I recommended an amendment to the budget to create a kind of family liaison position. Now, I don't have any fantasies that one person will solve this problem for the entire system, but I thought it was a start. And the county executive agreed to put that in the budget. The board supported that. And so that position has been created, contracted out to Mental Health America, and they're in the process of hiring somebody who will be available to families to help navigate the system and to point out where the hiccups are. You know, when people, I had a family who said their son got discharged from jail at 7:00 at night, and they had taken his belongings. The probation officer had his telephone and his wallet and blah, blah, blah. And of course, the probation office is closed at 7:00 at night. So here's a guy on the street with no way really to call anybody or to get to his parents' home. Now that is just not okay. So I have high hopes that this person will at least be able to create some linkages for people. And if it proves to be successful and families have good experiences, then there's no reason why we couldn't say next year we'd like another position in that area of need. So your comments at the public hearings do make a difference, and we would encourage people to participate. Sometimes we have 4 people who speak, sometimes we have 2 people who speak. So we are interested in what y'all have to say because it informs our decision making.
Next slide, please.
Did we lose Kate a while back or no?
Did we lose Cain?
That her screen was blank.
Oh, she was talking about the screen she was seeing from us, yeah. Not like in a waiting room.
Okay, well, this PowerPoint will be sent to Sally, who will post it on the Mental Health Task Force website. The next item that I'm gonna just reference to is the 2025 budget development timeline. So next week, Thursday, March 22nd at 4:30 is the meeting that Kathy just referenced to, the first public comment meeting at Washington Park. And that's a generic budget meeting. So if you have ideas for the 2025 budget, please come and share those. For anybody that hasn't been to a budget meeting, it's just something for public comment that we listen to as a board. We can't generally respond. So we just take in the information. And because the meetings, we start at 4:30 and we listen to everybody that comes. We haven't limited comments to 2 or 3 minutes. We generally will listen to everybody for the length of time that they need to present their information. So we generally don't cut anybody off. And so you have an opportunity to speak. And then the timeline goes on. Got to put the readers on now to speak about then the spring departments will receive their tax levy targets and spring their fringe benefit allocations from the county exec and the budget office. And then on June 6th, the finance committee will preliminarily propose a budget presentation. And then on June 11th will be the next finance committee meeting, and that'll be a formal budget overview and public comment at Washington Park. And then late June will be the mental health board members have an opportunity to put forth formal budget recommendations to the finance committee. So if something comes up or you have an idea and there's something you would like to get passed, you can talk to a member of the mental health board finance committee and say, you know, I think this is a really good idea. Could you consider putting this through as an amendment and work with one of the finance committee members? And then on June 27th, we have the finance committee budget presentation and public comment. And then July 11th, the mental health board budget consideration approval and budget is sent to the county executive. And then during the summer, the county exec reviews the mental health board budget. And then October 1st, the recommendations for the final BHS budget is put into part of the overall county budget. So you can see the mental health board budget gets processed and approved much, much sooner than the rest of the county budget. So our stuff is on a speed track in spring. So we have to act much more quickly than the county board does on the budget for the overall county. So the other thing that I just wanted to mention was that before we go to any Q&A, I just want to introduce that we do have a couple members of the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board in the room with us. And if they'd like to please stand, we have Rachel Foreman, who is a member of the Quality Committee. And then we have Richard Cantor, our attorney on the board. And did I miss anybody? Do we have anybody online, do you know, that's a member of the mental health board? See, I can't see. Okay. So, do we have any questions? Yes, Pete.
When does the budget, the board budget, when is that finalized and why in spring, why is the, county, mental health board, why are you, I guess you having to be rushed to get this, ideas in for new budget proposals?
Having had this experience for a number of years. The county budget is a year-long slog. And so departments will, we collect comment now so that staff, if the board says, well, the comment about blah, blah, blah was really important and we'd like to have that included, then staff can work to include that. And then when you get your target from the Department of Administration, you know how much money you have to work with. A lot of times what they'll say is you can't have any additional tax levy. You have to eat your costs to continue within the tax levy target. And all that takes a long time. The county board will not approve this budget until November. And then the exec will have the opportunity to issue vetoes. And then the county board can vote whether to override the vetoes or not. So it's like December before it's done, but it takes a long time.
I got one more if,
Is it a follow-up question?
yeah.
Yeah. do a follow-up question.
Then I guess my question is, because we're starting to reach out to supervisors and, one of the things I want to make sure that we're doing is talking to them when it's most important. So, meetings that we may have in March that we're lining up, are we better off maybe pushing those meetings further on into the budget process until you guys know like what money we're dealing with and what are the priorities that money's going to?
Well, the thing that you need to remember is that the mental health board is responsible for mental health and substance use services in Milwaukee County. And that is solely and only what we are responsible for. The county board has nothing to do with anything mental health or substance use. The only person that can veto anything in our budget is the county executive. The county board supervisors have nothing to do with our budget.
Mary, this is Nicole. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about the history of the supervisors being taken out of that process, or the execs being taken out of that process and the board being developed.
Okay, I did speak to that a little earlier, but I can speak to it more.
I have the attention of a
Oh,
score,
no, that's
so-
fine. No. So basically what happened was, years past, proposals would go before the county board, and then they would go before Health and Human Needs. And, the staff from BHD, the director, the administrator would take the information for proposals in front of it, would go basically in front of Health and Human Needs. And I often, and other consumers would do testimony along. And it would be a long drawn out process because the county supervisors would want more information or different information because they didn't have expertise in mental health or substance use issues. And then deadlines would be missed, and grants would be missed, or things of that nature. And then so what would ended up happening is there would be a long drawn out process, and then it was found to be ineffective. And So Barbara has some input, I think, on that as well. And that's how county exec easily got involved, and it became a legislative process to develop the mental health board.
This is Barbara. I just wanted to add one of the other factors at that time was there was disagreement about continuing with the system that was primarily institutional based and a system that was more focused on supporting people in the community. And at that time, there were large labor unions that employed a lot of people who worked at the mental health complex. And those unions had a lot of clout with the county board. And you know, they cared about jobs at the mental health complex. So that was one of the points of tension that made it difficult to reform the system and to move to more of a community model. And I mean, Kathy knows about this because there was a lawsuit that my agency, Disability Rights Wisconsin, then Wisconsin Coalition for Advocacy had brought against the county, the Jonas lawsuit, to push them to reform and to move to more of a community model. So that process started because of litigation, but it didn't continue to move forward. You know, we never had CCS, Comprehensive Community Services. When Scott Walker was county executive, he never would approve that because he and the board were worried, well, it's an entitlement. We'll end up spending too much money on community services and that'll be hard on the budget, but it cost a lot of money to run a large institution. But that's where a lot of the political clout was, not with community groups like the Mental Health Task Force that were pushing for expanding the community system. So Joe Sanfilippo served on the Community Advisory Board that was established after there were a number of sexual assaults at the mental health complex. And again, that was something that DRW investigated, and this Community Advisory Council was established. And Kathy, you were part of that too, to develop recommendations for transitioning to more of a community model. When I know when Joe was appointed to that committee, I was like, what kind of game is being played here? Because he was someone who never voted for any community-based, so he never voted for anything that involved spending money. He was a fiscal conservative, but he turned out, I thought, to be very sincere, and he worked really hard, and he became a believer in a community-based mental health system. So that's just a little bit of the additional background, Nicole, to fill you in on, you know, just from my perspective.
Thank you.
Hello. I want to support what Barbara said. I do want to say one thing in defense of the county board, which that's hard for me, but these were people who were asked to be experts in everything from airports to zoos and everything in between. And that's not really possible. You can't expect. Now, the committee structure helped with that in that, you know, it narrowed their scope. But overall, I think there was a sense that nobody could know everything they needed to know to make decisions about individual programs. And Barbara's right. I mean, I remember when Tom Amon was the county executive, and I talked about we need to get out of so much institutional business. When I went to work for Milwaukee County, we staffed 900 beds. Okay. And the problem is that every county employee is a constituent. And so the loss of jobs was, I think, the biggest deterrent to changing the system. It wasn't that people said, oh, that's a really bad idea. It was, well, what will all these people do? I had somebody say to me, well, if you lay all these people off, they'll all be on welfare, and that'll cost even more. Now, that's a pretty pejorative view of the workforce. That, you know, people couldn't go and get meaningful work, but that was the attitude.
Hi, this is Montreal. I know earlier, you all talked about increasing attendance. Is there a way that if attendance is increased, that there could be meeting minutes, concerns that may have happened at the previous, mental health board meeting, talked about, discussed, or even possibly forecast? Because I know in some places, you can get up and you can talk for 2 minutes. You can represent a large group of people, but I don't know if there's a clear follow-up process, and just wanted to know what, if that it's not in place already, what's your vision for being able to incorporate something like that?
The meeting minutes do get posted. They're on Legistar. And not the most friendly place to find things, I guess. So I don't know if they could be posted elsewhere, I guess is the question.
Could link to them.
You could link to them, and I think every time we have a public hearing, there's a, thanks to Mary, on the agenda of the next mental health task for a mental health board meeting is a report on what went on at the public comment period and how we might respond to that. So that kind of closes the link, but I would encourage people to read the minutes. You know, it'll take you a while. They're pretty long, but you know, some of them are interesting, some so much.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering where we can get data on the mental health, how well it's working in Milwaukee County, for example. I think I understood somebody to say that for the MHEC, the Mental Health Emergency Center, 80% of people are discharged to home. And I'm wondering if that's an accurate statistic. And if it is, I see that as a problem as a parent of someone with a very serious mental illness. I think the county has really excellent programs for people who are voluntary. But for people with a serious mental illness who don't understand that they're ill, that, you know, maybe thinks their food is being poisoned and they're, you know, maybe not a severe danger to themselves or others, but they are becoming a danger. I think that's where improvement needs to be made. I guess my question is, how is being discharged to home helping the crisis? Because they came in crisis either with the police or with their family. And it seems like a lot of them are not being helped. And there's a shortage of psych beds in the county now. Did you say there used to be 900 beds in the county?
That when they had the cottages too.
We had 3 nursing homes, 3 long-term care buildings that Wisconsin licensed as nursing homes because they could collect Medicaid dollars for the care of those people. And then the feds wised up and came, and the feds decided that the care of people with mental illness was a state and local responsibility, not a federal responsibility. I'll never forget. So they sent auditors to us to see if what we had were what they called institutes for mental diseases or true nursing homes. Well, I could have told them, I mean, they didn't need to come. But they came and they declared that we could not license these nursing homes as nursing homes, and that Medicaid, the federal share, would not pay. So, you know, became incredibly expensive. But in terms of data, I mean, we can get data about how many people. Now, whether or not discharging somebody to home is helpful or not helpful, the data won't tell you that. unless you get I mean, you can get the data about how soon people come back. You know, if you discharge them today and they're back within 2 days, then maybe that wasn't a great disposition. You can get that data.
So do we know, how many psych beds are in the county? They're all private now, right? Yeah.
Well, the county pays for beds at Granite Hills if the person has no other source of payment, but those aren't public beds.
Right.
That's a contract to a private provider. So there are no public beds in Milwaukee County.
But how many private psych beds would you say that there are?
I wouldn't hazard a guess.
Okay, so.
I mean, we could get that information and send it to Sally, but I won't hazard a guess.
Okay, I think that would be important to know because it just seems like there's a revolving door.
We have some questions.
Okay,
in the
sorry.
chat, so thank you. And for the folks here, we are going to build in some time for fellowship. So if there's additional questions, you can have time to do that. And also, we always have the mental health task force email that if you have questions or things like that, you can do that. I'm gonna hand it over to Sally because we do have some questions in the chat.
I was just going to note that Kate put up the minutes and those are in the chat and we can post those on the website. And we do have Brenda Wesley who wanted to make a comment and we're trying to figure out exactly how we might be able to do that.
Is that possible?
Brenda.
Is that possible? Can you hear me?
Cindy wrote, this may or may not be the right place to ask this. I hope it is. Why does Wisconsin have a county by county mental health system as opposed to other states that are state guided? Does Milwaukee County Board partner with other counties? It would seem easier. Easier to have. Easier to have mutual ideas and programs.
We run the Milwaukee Mental Health Board, not the other 71 counties. It just is the way the state is set up. You know, I do things at a state level, so I do collaborate with things that happen in other counties. So I do hear other counties' ideas and I bring back other counties' ideas. Mike Lappin, the administrator, collaborates with other counties. Kathy collaborates with other counties and things that she hears. So we do bring ideas back to Milwaukee County. So we aren't working in a vacuum, but you know, even though we have 72 counties, there are some parts of the state that work in regions on certain areas, North Central, and there's certain other counties like CCS programs that run by regions. So not everything is specific to counties, but that's just the way the state is set up. And I don't have a better answer than that.
I would just add that counties are agents of the state. And in that sense, they're very different from cities. Cities have much more latitude in what they create and what they can promulgate than counties do. Counties are state created.
Are there any other questions?
I just want to say thank you to Kathy, Mary, Rachel, and now Richard. But I think it's important to note that this is voluntary on your part. It's your own time. And I really appreciate your dedication, your hard work, your time. And these are not easy issues, but I would encourage the mental health board to do more outreach, be more public, be more transparent. And I think ask the questions of our community about what needs to happen. I think we just don't have enough dialogue. The meetings, I want them to be at least online. They used to be, but the last one wasn't. You had to appear in public at 12th and Fleet, which is not easy to do. And I think it's important to stay very transparent, open, allow some online presence, at least so people can hear. I think there's also more questions have to be raised about some of the administration of the services. We've heard rumors about the emergency center. We know Granite Hills has been so understaffed. There's some major changes going on with wraparound that I don't think people are aware of. These are issues that we need to hear about. I think there's problems with, there's no wait list for services, but providers are getting overwhelmed. So they don't wait list and they just give them to the providers who cannot serve the numbers right now. So there's a lot of things that we have to bring forward. So I encourage you to keep up the good work and be as open to hearing from us as possible. Really, thank you for your work. Thank you.
And then we have 2 more comments online, and then I think we are going to wrap this part of it up. Yeah, I'm just making decisions.
We have a comment from Angie Moran at DHS. All human service, social services in Wisconsin are county run. There are about 11 states that are run this way. This lets decisions happen at a local level. That's her comment. And then Robert Walker asks, how much influence does the mental health task force have on the mental health board decision specific to the city of Milwaukee mental health services?
Doesn't say the city.
Well, then below it, he does. I think that's how I'm interpreting.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
I guess I'm not totally clear on the question. The mental health task force is the mental health task force. We don't have anything directly to do with the city or the county. We're an advocacy, information, education organization. So, we do those things within the scope of members of our organization. We do things in the community that can affect and influence the city and the county, but we don't have a direct impact. We don't appeal to the city health department or anything of that nature. So we wouldn't have anything specific to do with the city of Milwaukee.
We have a comment from Brenda Wesley. I would like to make it clear the hospital closed down due to money, not because folks care about the community. There are people who care. We're still having these conversations. And Deanna, I don't know if you want to comment on that before I go back to Deanna Kloster, United Healthcare. Has there been any measurable change in the levels of homelessness that are directly linked with the closure of BHD and the other nursing home beds? I know there have been many other changes like COVID, increased in homelessness for other reasons.
There is data about people who lived in long-term care and got moved to the community, and when they come back to the emergency center or to an acute inpatient bed, and it is very small. I mean, the fantasy that all these people are coming back and being reinstitutionalized is just that, fantasy. Most of the people have done well, and I think it is, they're also happier living in and it's interesting. We had one gentleman who got moved to an apartment from long-term care. And the case manager said, well, he spends his whole day smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. I said, if you'd spend 30 years not being able to do either one of those things when you wanted to, maybe that's how you'd spend your day. So, I guess I would, I don't think this is so much about money as about the quality of people's lives. Now, that doesn't mean money isn't an issue. You can talk about we need more of this and more of that, and that's, I wouldn't disagree, but you have to figure out how you're going to pay for it and what the taxpayers will tolerate.
And as we wrap up in what Kyra said, I would just like to share that as the chair of the mental health board, and I know Kathy shares some of the same visions, is one of the things that we're planning on doing is putting out a quarterly newsletter as chair and vice chair. We hope to collaborate with the county board of supervisors so that we can get hopefully the newsletter out through different venues. We want to be able to get it out through different listservs, and hopefully Independence First will help with that, and other organizations that have come forth and talked to me about that. Hopefully communicate with the Secretary of State to be able to talk to her about what is happening within the Milwaukee County Mental Health Board. We've already gotten updates happening on the Mental Health Board website with pictures, bios, information that's happening. Expansion of staff because there just isn't adequate staff. We lost all staff within the BHS. So we're working with temporary and fill-in staff right now. So we have, and Kathy and I only got put into our positions 2 weeks ago. So we have some ideas. So I'd like to thank everybody for being here today and for hearing what we have to say.
I am beyond grateful for just being able to hear some of the history. As a young man and still wet behind the ears, it's encouraging to see the fight that took place, to be able to create change. Hearing from our panelists, hearing from our matriarch, hearing from the folks online, it shows that this is not a new fight. It's a fight that's been going on for a long time. And I know, especially as one of the younger members of the task force, thank you. Thank you all for putting the time. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for not covering stuff up and making it sound like it's this pretty beautiful rainbow with red and ruby slippers on. It sounds like it's a really important time for us to create change. Before we transition, I will say this, I'm gonna take some autonomy while I'm up here. There's opportunity. And with you guys just getting in the seat, just let us know, as the task force, what support looks like. If there's anything that you need from the task force, we are here for that. And again, to the folks online, thank you for coming out. Our next guest, Mr. Kenneth Ginlack, is not here. The reason why he's not here is he's actually supporting someone in recovery right now that just had a very serious crisis. And like we just spoke to, oftentimes there are organizations who just need additional support. I've had the privilege of sitting on a panel with him last month and going to some radio shows and just hearing his story. And when I tell you his heart for the community when it comes to recovery, it has been transparent in his leadership. Right now, they're developing a $3 million institution to add an additional 16 beds for loved ones who are going through different challenges with substance abuse. And so he couldn't be here today, but on behalf of Mr. Ginlack, I just wanted to say he wished he could be here. And shout out to Milwaukee County for creating some of those vending machines that now have Narcan, because I've heard so many different stories of how those have come in handy over the last 6 months, and how before you may not have had that on hand. You may not have not been able to identify certain places where if a person is dealing with that extreme crisis. Now you can go to certain places that have been identified through the county website to get those Narcan treatments. And I'm hoping that everything is successful as far as saving a life today. So if y'all don't mind, can we give a round of applause for that type of leadership? Now, I did tell you guys earlier, I was a little excited about this trivia thing, right? The way it works is we're going to ask you some questions. In the process of asking you some questions, we want you to be able to give your best answers. Now, the thing is, we're not expecting you guys to just be scholars and scrolls of the mental health task force, but you heard some things today and you'll learn more. So feel free to give the right or wrong answer, right? And also understand that we are excited. Who saw how beautiful and warm it is for the last 2 days by show of hands? Yes. So there'll be an opportunity for you to get some of your time back this evening, but we thank you ahead of time for participating in our trivia. And we hope that you guys learned something, and I'm looking forward to learning some things as well.
1 second while I pull it up. Mary, I guess since I put this together, I can read the questions.
Yes. I'm just moving so I can see the screen.
Would you like for me to advance the slide?
That would be lovely. I have the clicks. See that? The clicks going. Oh, hey, we got music here. What is this? The Price is Right music going? Okay, there's some Price is Right music going.
Everyone online.
Oh.
Got all the answers on it tonight.
It's just because the slideshow didn't start. Okay, so everybody gets a point for 2014. Denise in the front. What year did the Mental Health Task Force begin, the Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force? 2004. 2004, not 2014. Holy cow. I'm gonna age some of you here, and that was the year that I graduated from high school.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I just want to thank you for all the work that you did for me to get mental health services in school. All right, question 2. Who was the first chairperson of the Mental Health Task Force here in Milwaukee?
Speak up.
Anyone? I've got two answers here. So Peter, but we've got Tom Reed here. Who, can you say that answer again?
Tom Lavacek.
Tom Lavacek. All right, we've got a bonus question to follow up on this. Montreal, give it to us here. Who was his employer? Robin? Yeah. Who was it? Who did he work for? So he worked for the Wisconsin Coalition first, and then
The same age.
and they changed names on us, and now they're Disability Rights Wisconsin. All right, on to the next, number 2 or number 3. Numbers and me do not mix well here.
Brainstorm.
Question 3. A major report was written about the mental health task force in 2006. Does anyone know what it was called?
System.
The mental health system. Anyone know that report that was written about our system? Everything's failing and it's all falling apart? Is that it?
Close.
That wasn't.
Forgot.
Okay, Denise is thinking really hard. Anyone? Montreal, can you give us a,
Tell you.
oh, here we go. Barbara Beckert for the win.
Critical juncture.
Here's a bonus question for those of you who have been with the mental health task force. Do you know who wrote it? This person also served on our steering committee.
Writer.
The writer, yes. We've got DRW as the overarching organization that wrote it. Anybody want to second that? Nope. All right, so it was Dr. Janice Wilberg, and she was one of our steering committee members. You know who helped create these questions? Mary and Barbara. So if you're tripping up on these, I am also, and I'm part of the steering committee. So in 2004, the Mental Health Task Force held its first summit. What was it called? I'm sorry, I typed wrong. What was it called for the theme of the summit? Or what was the theme of the summit? My apologies. This is what happens when you get volunteers to write things. So what was the first summit's theme?
I know.
Nobody else is answering.
Well, there was a very pressing issue that it was addressing, which is still with us, and that is crisis services.
So Barbara answered that it's crisis services. Go ahead and do the title there. So it was crisis services. It's more than inpatient beds. So we've seen the move away from inpatient beds, but we're still in crisis. All right, how about a bonus question for this one? Where was the first summit held?
Italian Community Center.
Yes.
Everything working.
Italian Community Center. All right, question 5. Who was the first coordinator of the mental health task force?
Barbara.
Yes. Barbara, first coordinator. Sally, our second coordinator, helping out here. Bonus question, here we go. What year did she start as our coordinator? Oh, I can't do math. Robin said 20 years ago. 2004. I see where your math was going, 2004. However, Barbara didn't start at in 2004.
2011.
Ooh, 2011. We're getting warmer.
13.
Oh, colder.
12.
So,
9. 2009.
ooh, I think that's it, right? 2009, the year I graduated college, everyone, just to age you again. Do you get credit for that?
For the right,
For the right, oh.
did I get credit?
Yeah, 0.5, yeah, 0.5.
And I got this, right?
Yeah, I got this. Last question. All right, Montreal. Question 6. How many county executives has the mental health task force worked with?
4.
4 is correct.
4.
Bonus. Can you name all 4 of them?
Amen.
In chronological order.
Amen. Abel, or no, Walker.
That is incorrect.
Yeah, we've got some good ones here. Very close.
Walker and,
We're flipping Walker and Abley, so we've got
Amen.
Amit, Abley, Walker, and Crowley. Mm. You're so close. Montreal, hit us up. Help us out. Scott Walker was the first one who signed it in. Then we had Lee Halloway, Chris, Abley, Lee Halloway.
That was just very briefly after Walker was elected governor.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Chris Abley and David Crowley. I probably couldn't vote in those elections, so.
He was active.
Really late. All right, question 7.
Hey, Nicole.
Yes.
Can we try to guess your age now? I mean, you've given us so much.
You'd have to do math, though.
Wow.
Yes, I am 12. I look great for my age. I'm a Doogie Howser. I graduated at 5 years old.
2013.
Yeah. Okay, so when was the first Karen Avery Forum? And Denise, were you answering that question? 2013. I can't remember this answer.
She
Yeah.
passed away in 2013, so it would have been 2014.
Okay, we've got Denise saying 2014. Montreal. 2014.
Right.
No, Denise, can you share about Karen Avery just a little bit? Because I know there's a picture of her that has been painted by a former colleague of ours. She did it, our colleague had seen a picture. She has low vision and
Lauren, right?
yeah, she made this amazing picture. Apparently it looks like Karen. I can't vouch for that, but Denise, do you mind sharing a little bit about her working here at Independence First?
Yeah, actually, probably Barbara's could give you a better description of Karen, but she worked with her for a lot longer. But Karen used to be my boss, my supervisor. She was amazing, an amazing advocate for the mental health. She had a personal journey with mental health issues, but really amazing advocate who really fought for better services. She was understanding of the deaf and hard of hearing community and advocated on their behalf as well. She always used to wear tie-dye clothing, which everybody always loved. That was kind of like her signature. She wore that a lot. Not only was she a strong advocate for mental health services, but she was a very humble person. She didn't want to be in the spotlight. She worked very, very well behind the scenes and just kind of worked her magic in that way. She was everyone's friend. She was a friend to everyone. Sure. You agree, Barbara? Anything you want to add?
Denise, you said it so beautifully. Just what Denise said was really beautiful, just in terms of the mental health task force to add. Karen was involved in the task force from the beginning, and she served on the steering committee for up until her death. And she just was so generous. I mean, that's why we started. There's another question about where the task force met, I think, but we started meeting at Independence First because of Karen, who opened up your home, your work home to us, and we've been here ever since. And one of the things she was really generous about, and it's not easy to do, was sharing her personal recovery journey with policymakers and getting them to listen and pay attention. She grew up, her mother had serious challenges with her mental health and was in and out of Mendota. And so Karen and her sisters were in and out of the child welfare system. And they had a lot of challenges, but Karen just, in spite of all the trauma she went through, she really turned out to be an incredible advocate for other people, and raised two wonderful kids. And I miss her all the time. It really was a terrible loss that she passed away so young.
Thank you.
I'm gonna answer the next question.
So Denise is gonna answer the bonus question, which was, who was the first person to receive the Karen Avery Award?
Phil Corona, he's an employee here at Independent.
So we've got Phil Corona, one of our Independence First colleagues here in information and referral. It sounds like a little bit of nepotism, don't you think?
He still deserved it.
Philip is amazing. He's a certified peer specialist. He's been here for over 20 years, connecting folks with different resources here in our community and helping folks with disabilities. So just a lot of great people who have paved the way for myself and other folks that are near my age. All right, question 8. What was the topic for the Karen Avery Forum in 2017? Now we're just going all over the place. 2017. I bet Philip Corona could answer that.
I'll give a hint.
Oh, Barbara's gonna give a hint.
So this forum was an opportunity to showcase a new type of recovery program that we really wanted to see here in Milwaukee. And we were successful. Close.
I can't hear.
I said peer support.
Peer support.
Our peer specialist certification. We're on like wraparound peer support.
Hopefully I typed this one correct.
ISIS.
PR. Oh, she's giving the first 2 letters.
R.
Eric?
Peer recovery.
Peer recovery. There's some, the P and the R.
Policy reform.
Policy reform. We're just stabbing at things now.
Amy Loren says peer run respite.
Yay!
Right, Amy.
PR squared. All right, bonus question. Oh, all came up at the same time. Parachute House was one of the houses that came about after that summit. All right, question 9. The Milwaukee Mental Health Task Force was critical in the development of the first Crisis Resource Center. Any of you know where it's located? If you can give me a cross street. Robin? It's on the south side.
National stop.
Gotta give streets, Robin, not down by.
Trying to.
Oh, Robin.
Do it.
Been there a million times, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
the street.
I'll remember. Can you remember the name of it?
Have a point for Southside?
Half a point. Half a point for Southside? It is on the south side. It's like, what? Do you say 10?
Amy guessed in the chat.
Amy guessed?
Yeah, she didn't guess.
What?
14 Becker.
Beecher, 14th and Beecher, it's on 14th and Beecher. I can find it on Google Maps, I just put 14th and Beecher. All right, bonus question. So there was a national foundation that the Mental Health Task Force, Milwaukee County, and some of our other partners joined together, and we got funding through this national foundation. Do you remember the name of the foundation we worked with? Yes, Robert Woods Johnson Foundation. Woo-hoo. Let's get more money from them.
I have another question for that question, another bonus
Mary's got another bonus.
for that question. Who made the curtains for the inside of the who volunteered and made the curtains for the inside of the building?
Mary.
No,
Who volunteered and made the curtains for the inside of that building?
Was it Lynn Malowski?
no. Jean Lowry.
Jean Lowry.
And who provided the paint for the inside of the building?
Who helped paint that? Who
Provided
the paint? They didn't paint it because Mary was painting.
Lynn Malaski's brother provided the paint. Who washed all the exterior windows of the building?
Was it Mary?
Mary.
Yeah. Talk about task force, right?
Bonus.
Yeah, bonus for Mary. You get to work on the task force for another year or two.
10. Number 10.
All right, question 10. In 2005, the Mental Health Task Force held its second summit. What was the topic for that year?
CIT policing, I
I've
think.
got criminal justice, I've got
CIT policing, I think.
CIT policing. See it. It's formulated. No. 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 Denise, come on. You're a ringer.
I forgot that was so long ago. I've got an old brain. Sorry, I'm not as young as you.
I don't remember anything from 2005. That was my freshman year in college, let's be honest.
Anybody online?
Sally, getting anybody online? All right, Montreal, give it up. Stigma, barriers and solutions. We have the solutions yet? Or are we still working on that?
I'm still working on stigma.
Okay, we're still working on stigma. Still working on that. Looking for solutions. We'll take your suggestions. All right, do we have a bonus for that one?
Yeah.
No, we don't, but question 11. How many people serve on the current Mental Health Task Force Steering Committee? We're not so clear on this. We're waiting on some information. 12 is very close.
13.
13.
No, not the mental health board, the mental health task force steering committee.
We are much larger than 5. Robin.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
So Robin's saying it has to be an odd number for voting.
Sally doesn't.
And she threw out a 13. When I looked at the list today, it was 13 with our 13th member in recovery from a surgery, correct? So right now we have 12 12 members that are helping out.
12.
But we do have 13. We're gonna give you a bonus question. Can you name 5 of us? Can I give us as a clue? There's actually several of us in the room today. Mary,
Sally?
Nicole. Sally is not a voting member. She is a coordinator. She's our taskmaster and cat wrangler.
The attorney.
The attorney back
That's
there
mental
is
health board.
the mental health board.
Mental health.
Yep. So us here in this room, the folks.
Have tags on.
Kyra, we got Mary, me, Kyra, Christine, Montreal,
Okay.
myself, Nicole. That was me. I was referring to myself in third person. All right. So we have Mary in the room, Christine Apple, who you usually see helping run the meeting. She's on vacation or doing something better than hanging out here. We have Montreal here in the room. Kyra, do you mind holding up your hand for folks? We have Tom Reed. We have Robin over there. We have Pete. Do you go by Pete or Peter?
You say Pete?
Okay, Pete. I have a older brother, Pete. We have David Fleming. Yes. He's a very busy attorney. And then we have Chris Heggie, Curtis Marshall, Christine Alstrup in the room here with us, myself, Nicole Damiano, and Quintella, can't remember her last name. Why did I put an N? Quintella is missing. That's what the M is for. We hope she'll join us again soon, so. All right, question 12. I think question 12 is the last one because I didn't get the spelling of names. And I didn't want to.
I'll ask.
Okay, so question 12, not 11. Who has been a co-chair of the Mental Health Task Force since 2012?
Great.
Mary, unanimous, yep. All right,
Okay.
bonus question. I got it on here.
Bonus question.
Oh, it's not a,
It's not.
what am I doing? What are we doing? Look, I put this together today in between consumer meetings, so please be patient. Okay, name the current chairs of the Mental Health Task Force.
Mary and Christina.
Mary and Christine Apple.
Christine, sorry.
Yeah, and we actually have 2 more.
We added 2 people a month ago.
Yeah, we added, and I wasn't here for that. Did you announce it then at the February meeting? So we've added 2 more people in order to help Mary move forward from us and do some future planning. Yeah.
Everybody know the other 2?
Nicole in Montreal.
Yes. Thank you. Montreal has joined us, joined the co-chairs,
In my head.
and then
Back there.
I have also helped, I have also joined the ranks with co-chairs. We want to thank everybody who's part of the steering committee. It's heavy work just to,
I can't turn my head. Who answered number?
that was Dave. It's a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of things to carry with us. As you all know that, those of us involved in the mental health field, those of us with mental health concerns, it's just a lot of heavy lifting and, we're hoping as the task force, we will be able to continue being, leaders and getting that information out there, but also, really becoming stronger in that advocacy for now and what the future looks like in the mental health field. So, we're hoping for awesome things in the future, and we appreciate you all attending these meetings. And we are actually, I'm gonna let Mary take over here because I'm just rambling.
And I'm gonna ask a 13th question because I'm odd. And the 13th question are for some special people in this room. Some special people in this room, can you answer for number 13, the bonus of the bonus questions? 5 original members of the steering committee. One of them is sitting in this room. No. There is one person sitting in this room that was an original member of the steering committee. Tom Reed. Yay, Tom. So, can somebody else name any other members of the original steering committee?
Tom Lavachuk.
Tom Lavachek. Sue Schuler. Am I correct, Tom?
Sue Goddard.
Bob Wren. How about Jean Lowry?
Yep.
Mhm,
Curtains lady?
yep. How about Colleen Dublinsky?
Oh, yeah.
How about Sandy Pash? Let's see. How about, who else did I guess? No, Lynn wasn't. I talked to Lynn today. She said she avoided the task force steering committee as best she could. That's what she told me. Who else am I missing, Tom?
Oh, was Peter Huffle involved?
I don't think so.
I mean, he was shortly thereafter, after Tom left.
Was Joan Lawrence on the original steering committee?
Oh, God.
I don't think so.
Sorry, Barbara. Okay,
No, she certainly helped with writing grants.
yes, she did. Okay,
Mary, it is 4:50.
I'm sorry.
We were gonna do some fellowship
All right.
and,
Be back
but,
time.
I do
All
want
right,
to.
I'm done. Bye.
Bye. Time's up. I do want to thank everyone for coming today. Part of the trivia was really intended to inform some of the folks that haven't been part of the task force for a long time. I want to say that what the task force was doing when I was graduating high school was probably some of the things that made sure that I got mental health services at that time. So I really appreciate the work that you did. You created a future for me. And our hope is to continue to do that as part of the task force. So thank you. We asked that and we have time to stick around with us, party with us. We got some cookies still available, some sparkling water, whatever, and just get the chance to meet each other and talk and share and whatever.